G'day everyone, Jason Nunn with your Friday fishing report, proudly brought to you by Fisherman's Warehouse Marine, Sweet Street at Warners Bay, and of course this is probably a safe place to be. Rain till at least next Thursday, and you always know when you're in for a wet period when the weather guys don't know when it's going to stop. Tomorrow doesn't look too bad, particularly in the lake and in the estuary. Winds, it's definitely going to be out of the south for the next week at least. But it doesn't look too bad. But the trouble is, as you start to get offshore, guys, you're going to get these squalls, and that's what's been basically going on offshore today. I've been watching it on the radar. A lot of rain down off Sydney and Central Coast, of course, but particularly a little bit off our part of the woods down near Swansea there. And those squalls are associated with it. Monday, we get a big southeast change, and again, we're not quite sure whether we're going to get potential of an east coast low or just a low pressure system off the coast. It's up in the air, but definitely a lot of rain really over the next 7 to possibly 8 days. Let's hope by the time we get to next Friday I've got something positive to say about weather, and we're looking forward to getting out there and having a bit of fish next weekend. I still reckon this weekend I think you've got to fish in the estuary. I think the lake offers a whole lot more with a lot more protection, particularly on the eastern side of us, that little bit of east southeast type wind coming through. We've had a lot of rain this week as well, but I think our tides are going to be in our favour. Tomorrow, 11:15, low tide, but a really good tide tomorrow afternoon. 5:30, high tide, around about 166. So it's a really, really good tide. It gives you the ability to actually get out there, and obviously a lot more guys in today's bigger boats, half cabins and alike, or if you're a shore-based angler, don the raincoat, because that run-in tide tomorrow afternoon, I think will be the pick of it before that weather gets away on us again Sunday into Monday. A lot of brim in the system, and there was a lot of colour, particularly up this end of the woods on Wednesday. There was lots of current lines all moving through the top part of the lake, and the colour in the water on the run out has really been pouring out. But again, our offshore temperature is still holding in there, around about 20 to 21. It cools off when we get a bit more rain, but out wider, still looking at around about 24 degrees. Thus, the amount of rain that we're physically getting on these southerlies and southeasters as they're coming through. If you're going to go wide, there was a few guys that did go last Sunday. There was the odd fish out there from what I understand, but it's just going to be horrible out there the next probably week, I would think, until it starts to settle down. There's still a lot of dolphin fish in on the fat area, which you'll basically see continue on. And I think whatever that water temperature's holding in, it'll be perfect. Still kings if you can get down to the Texas, and again, you may have a look at it Saturday, but don't do anything that's crazy and don't take any undue risks, to be quite honest, particularly when you go offshore. Very dangerous situation when you get out there. But there's kings down on the Texas, some really nice snapper in on the front farm. Inshore, I think that is probably, if you're going to put your head out the outside, have a bit of a look at that there. Some really nice snapper down along our part of the woods, but right the way up through Newcastle, and of course some really nice fish in particular up towards Broughton Island. A few longtails up towards Broughton and also inside the bay, so you've got a bit more choice if you get up to the bay with that wind direction out of the south. You'll get a little bit of protection up there, but definitely longtails and some nice snapper on the inshore. Still been a few trag around offshore, but our offshore fishing at the moment has been really good, and there's been a lot of consistency with the catches. It's just the ability of trying to physically get there. If you're going to be in the estuary, my tip is target brim, and on that run-in tide, brim, probably flathead and tailor, I reckon. There's a few more tailor coming through. There was a big school of fish on Monday, actually, right out in the middle of Belmont Bay. But there's been a few fish sporadic. There's been a few up towards Coley along Carey Bay, and there's been a few more down towards Pulba. Just got to look for these birds working and move around. There's been a lot of bait come into the system, and I think now we're into May. It's a good opportunity to get out there and start doing some of that deep water jigging. Isolate yourself on those bait schools. Get your vibes or your bigger plastics down there and work those bait schools. Really got to, if you can, pick the tailor out, but there'll be some really nice flathead there. And with the amount of fresh water that's around, guys, there will be a lot of mulloway in our system. So take advantage of that there and target the mulloway in amongst the tailor. That run-in tide in the channel on Saturday afternoon, if you can get at the backs of the islands down towards Nesca Park, that tide will run you right in through till dark. There'll be some very good brim around. There's been some excellent fish along the beaches, on the rocks as well, but in the estuary itself. There's a fair bit of fresh coming out of the Hunter, but it still gives you the opportunity to also go into the harbour itself and target some of these mulloway that are going to be in on Stockton Wall in particular, but spilt back around onto Stockton Beach, because with that southerly, you'll get a fair bit of protection along the beach stretch itself. And again, ideal for the shore-based angler, as will Salts Bay on Saturday afternoon, even in Sunday, but I think that wind will start to get away with us a little bit on Sunday. Guys, all in all, there's plenty of opportunity to get out there. It's just this weather, and it's just the flu that I reckon I've got at the moment. I'm really croaky, and so is, I reckon, half of Newcastle. Take it easy when you're out there. Have a real good look if you're going to go rock fishing. That swell's definitely going to pick up into Sunday, so just be careful, and we'll speak to you next Friday.